Colorado head coach Deion Sanders has been battling some health issues, but I have the perfect update that every Colorado fan will want to hear. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Boulder. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, give me 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast, and let's have some fun because we're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Of course, we got you covered on all things Colorado. Let's talk about it. Deion Sanders has been absent, noticeably absent. And it's kind of that weird time of the year where it's like summer workouts are happening. You're about to start fall camp. The season is about a month-ish away. Colorado opens the year August 29th against Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets will be making the trip to Boulder. But Deion Sanders hasn't been in Boulder, right? He's been in his Canton, Texas home dealing with the health issue. I don't know what the health issue is per se because they haven't made that public. But whatever it is, it led to him losing 14 pounds. It's led to some concerns about his future at Colorado. Does he still have it? Whatever. At the end of the day, we have the perfect update. Deion Sanders Jr., Bucky, went on Philip Dukes' show and the Scoops with Dukes, and they talked about what's next for them or what's next for Bucky, right? Are we going to get more well-off media content, right? There's some questions from fans like, hey, his brothers are no longer at Colorado. Does he still plan to create the great content that he's been doing for the Buffs? Because, I mean, and before I get into the Deion Sanders news, the coverage that Deion Sanders Jr. gives us is unlike anything we've ever seen, even though there's obviously clips that are edited and stuff, and that's always going to happen. But we get this undoctored, just sort of rawness that you don't normally see behind the scenes of a college football program, right? Usually programs will share stuff on social media, but obviously it's like it's cleared by someone. It's like, okay, we are going to post a video of your quarterback. Is it okay if we post a video of Kaidon Salter? No, we want to make sure that we haven't picked a quarterback yet. So post one of Kaidon Salter and Julian Lewis, right? At the same time, or don't post one at all, right? There's a lot of complexities that go into running social media or doing coverage of a college football team when you're associated with the program. And Well Off Media does a fantastic job of giving us a behind the scenes look that really no other program has or gets. And I think it allows fans to stay connected, allows everyone to really have an understanding of sort of what's happening, right? I think we don't always get those behind closed doors conversations, right? We don't get those conversations of like, hey, why is so-and-so not playing? Well, if you go to Well Off Media, you saw him getting yelled at by the coach for not hustling or for missing class, whatever it is, right? So Deion Sanders Jr., great coverage there. But Bucky also said that Coach Prime will be making his return to Boulder next week, which coincides with what some people were seeing on social media. Shiloh Sanders, I think he's streaming these days or twitching. I don't know what the proper term is. I feel like I'm too young or too old for this, even though I'm 25. I don't understand which one is Twitch or Kick or whatever, but he was doing one of those things, right? And he's on the phone with his dad, Coach Prime, that is, and Coach Prime goes, hey, I'm going to try to get on a plane, go out to Tampa, see you, then head to Cleveland, see Shador, and then I'm going to head to Boulder, right? But we didn't know when that was, right? Because NFL training camps start throughout this month, and it was like, okay, when are we going to see Deion Sanders in Boulder? He said at Big 12 Media Days that he has not met everyone on the roster. Well, Bucky confirmed when talking with Dukes that they're going back next week, which I think is a big deal for a multitude of reasons. For starters, you get that stability and leadership, right? I think even though Pat Shermer has experience running a program, the strength and conditioning coaches, they know what they're doing, right? Those guys, Jordan Seaton's looking good. All these guys are bulking up, looking strong, low body fat, high muscle mass. It's a great deal, right? But at the end of the day, you could have the best support staff in the country. When you're missing your head coach, it feels like a part of you is missing, right? Especially when your head coach is Deion Sanders. He's the Energizer Bunny of this program. He's sort of like, I mean, not sort of, he is the face of the program. And it's one of those things where without him, Colorado's not the same. It's just not. right? I think we could all agree with that. Where if Colorado were to just like if Deion Sanders were to miss a game or so, it'd be like, oh my gosh, is this Colorado team going to be the same again? Right? That's how extreme it would be. So missing him, it kind of takes away a sense of leadership and the energy that he brings to the table and the motivation. Because at the end of the day, he's the head coach, and players want to impress him the most. Even though position coaches are the ones who kind of pick starters and influence the coach's decisions for certain things, Coach Prime is the guy that really gets everyone going. With Coach Prime back, whether people want to admit this or not, I think him, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face because I don't want people to assume I don't want people to think I'm being insensitive to his health condition or his health struggles, because I fully understand, like, you're going through something. You can't always be where you're needed, right? I think a lot of health issues, they take a lot out of you. Not comparing, I have no idea what he's going through. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but when I had COVID, the worst time, and then obviously this is a voodoo phrase, but when I had the Rona, and I got it, I think it was the first time I got it that where I actually felt symptoms, and I was out of commission for like a week, right? I couldn't breathe. I would walk to the bathroom from where I am, my office, and it was like probably 20 steps, and I'm like winded as if I ran a mile. So it took a lot out of me. So I can't imagine what Coach Prime's going through, right? I know when you're going through, at the point I'm making is when you're going through something that really takes a lot out of you, it's hard to be available for other things. And so him being there is a huge difference, right? Because recruits, and I know it's a dead period or whenever the dead period is or was, but there were some recruits that visited Colorado that missed out on not meeting Coach Prime, but seeing Coach Prime there, right? I think one of the biggest appeals of visiting Colorado right now is getting to talk to Deion Sanders in his office, right? Getting to talk to one of the greatest football players to ever play the game and learning what he sees in you, right? I think even though college football coaches, like head coaches, they're not the ones doing all the scouting and recruiting. Like they're kind of shown like, hey, this is our target. He's a good player, and they look at him and stuff like that. But getting to meet Deion Sanders is a game changer, right? We talked to Zach Atkins, we talked to Tafik Bayard, we talked to multiple players who have committed to Colorado, and one of their biggest takeaways was like, damn, like meeting Coach Prime was the difference for me. Like he changes it. He's very personable for those that he meets, from what I'm told. He's very personable in the sense of like he gets to know them on a deeper level, and he's not of this high or holier than thou stature that I think a lot of people make him out to be. So you get Coach Prime back, you rejuvenate the program, you don't have to operate under the guidelines of like, oh, is he going to come back? Blah, blah, blah. Coach Prime's back. He's going to be back next week. The Buffs are going to be in full swing. The first thing on the Coach Prime docket is going to be deciding a quarterback. I think the second thing that needs to really, really be hit on besides picking a quarterback is making sure this offense is well enough adapted to the players that they have and the players that they lost. So Coach Prime's going to have a lot on his plate when he comes back, but I'm glad to hear that he's coming back. When we come back, Kaidon Salter is consistently being disrespected, and I'm not going to stand for it. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You could get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups and keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use. There's a fast payout, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available where each podcast. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's have some fun. Let's also talk about Kaidon Salter and how he continues to get disrespected in these preseason rankings. So Andy Staples of On3 released a Big 12 quarterback rankings. He's got Sam Leavitt, Avery Johnson, ASU, Kansas State, Utah's Devin Dampier, Sawyer Robinson from Baylor, Rocco Beck from I almost said Iowa State, Josh Hoover from TCU, Jalen Daniels from Kansas. Now, I where to begin, right? Where to begin? I think the one thing that's hurting Kaidon Salter is he hasn't really been named the de facto starter. That being said, I think Kaidon Salter is probably one of, if not the best, dual threat quarterbacks in college football. I think you could make an argument for Arch Manning, even though he's young. DJ Lagway, you can make that argument, right? I think any list that has those guys in the mix, it's going to get complicated. But you really have to look at who, like the guys that I have questions about. I mean, Jalen Daniels hasn't had a healthy season and who knows how long, right? I'll pull up the stats right now. Jalen Daniels for Kansas was expected to be a Heisman frontrunner last year. 14 touchdowns, 12 picks, completed 57% of his passes, sacked 10 times. Nothing special, right? The Jayhawks, underwhelming year. Obviously, they beat Colorado, but let's not pretend like Jalen Daniels was the reason, right? They got a Devin Neal legacy game out of him. I look at a name like Rocco Becht, and I think Rocco Becht is getting the benefit of the doubt of having two NFL wide receivers in his receiver room to throw to. He threw for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 picks, which is great. I'm not taking that away from him. But when you look at who he was frequently targeting, Noel, and Jaden Higgins, they combined for 156 catches, 17 of the touchdowns, right? So he's losing. I mean, he completed 271 passes. Let's assume that just for S&Gs that all of those were to all of their catches were from Mr. Becht. I mean, 271 minus 167, 104 of his passes weren't to those guys, right? That's pretty insane. They accounted for a large chunk of everything that he did, right? 167, we could just do it by his total attempts. They accounted for 36% of his 36% of his passing completions or attempts, if you will. So you lose two NFL guys at receiver. The next closest player was their tight end, who had 26 catches, Gabe Burkle. So it went 80 catches, 87 catches, 26. So I think Rocco Becht probably is a good quarterback. I'm not probably. He is a good quarterback, but how much of his success was having two NFL caliber guys just trotting all over the field, right? I think that's a fair question. Now let's continue going up the list, right? I think Josh Hoover's good. I understand why I think I would argue to have him higher. The two names that I think Kaidon Salter has proven more than, Devin Dampier at Utah. He really lit it up at New Mexico. That being said, he's a turnover machine. He had, I think it was 12 touchdowns and 12 picks. Yeah, 12 touchdowns, 12 picks. Completed 57.9% of his passes. Right? He did that against lesser competition. Now, he had probably lesser weapons. That being said, is he a guy that is going to elevate to the highest? There were certain games where he showcased like his ceiling. Like there's plays against Auburn that were really good. But if he's turning the ball over that much in the group of 5 level, how is he going to fare against Big 12 defenses, right? And I think the reason that Kaidon Salter got hurt was he had a pretty subpar season this past year. 1,800 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 picks, 56% completion percentage. But the year before, 2,800 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, 6 picks, and also rushed for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. I think his best season is better than most of these guys here, right? I think the same could be said about Avery Johnson. I think Avery Johnson could probably be one of the better quarterbacks in college football. That being said, I don't think he was asked to do much last year. And he hasn't proven that he could be consistent. He had 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, completed 58% of his passes. There was a stretch there where he, against ASU and Houston and Cincinnati, he threw for 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. Not great, right? He was a turnover machine at times. He obviously can use his legs a little bit, but I think Kaidon Salter isn't getting the respect he deserves. I think a lot of it stems from this past year. I think a lot of it stems from the fact that he hasn't been outright named the starter at Colorado. But he's going to have a chance to prove himself, or prove to people around the sport that he could be one of the better quarterbacks, right? Like I said, dual threat, big arm. He's going to have a lot of weapons. He's going to have guys who make him look better. Sincere Brown's ginormous. Joseph Williams is a great jump ball getter. Hakeem Williams, we haven't seen a lot of him because he's been injured at Florida State, but he's a 5-star talent, so I'm sure there's something to tap into there. The Miller brothers, who aren't brothers, shout out to my old 49er fans who remember Justin and Alden Smith, the Smith brothers, who weren't actually brothers. That's how I that's where I'm pulling that joke from. But Draylon and Omarion, right? Omarion's amazing at certain times, right? He's always due for like 2 games where he explodes, but then whether it's been injury or just not fitting into the lineup, he hasn't returned. And then Draylon Miller, we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen a lot of it yet. Let me rephrase. So, but they have a ton of potential. They're both really big, athletic guys, and I think Kaidon Salter is going to have better weapons, right? He lost some of his weapons last year at Liberty, which I think is a played a factor. And he's also going to have better, I think, a play calling that should put him in position to succeed. So I think by the end of it, Kaidon Salter will probably walk away as a top 4 or 5 quarterback in the Big 12, assuming he lives up to his potential. If we get the Kaidon Salter of 2023, he may be the best quarterback in the Big 12, right? If we get the Kaidon Salter from last year, like statistically and performance-wise, I could see why this is where he is. But at the end of the day, there's a whole season to be played. So let's save it on the preseason rankings, right? Well, it'll play itself out in due time. When we come back, the Oklahoma Sooners need to look out because Colorado is coming for one of their top commits. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So do me a favor, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Let's talk about Colorado recruiting. The Buffs are going to host a visit from Daniel Odom. Now, Daniel Odom is one of the best recruits in the country. He's a wide receiver recruit out of St. John Bosco, which if you guys aren't familiar with California high schools, that is probably the second best high school in California and probably in the country as well. It's them in modern day that are sort of the juggernauts. He's been committed to Oklahoma since January, but the Buffs have been pushing hard for him. Ranked as the 307th player in the country according to the Rivals industry ranking, 51st wide receiver, 28th best player in the state of California, 6'2", 175, can do a little bit of everything, right? And I think Colorado likes versatility, right? I think that's no surprise there. He's a guy that this past season, he was carving up defenses. I mean, a lot of these blue chip recruits are, but you want a guy that could do it in a multitude of ways, right? Coach Prime has always talked about finding guys who can make impacts on offense, special teams, whatever it is, the run game. And I think Daniel Odom could be that, right? He plays pretty fast. It seems his max preps, has him listed at 6'3". So he's as tall as 6'3", some pretty good athleticism there. This past year, he had 45 catches for 682 yards and 5 touchdowns. And he also did a little bit of returning, I want to say. No. They had his all-purpose yards as a separate stat, but no. So he's not an all-purpose guy. Still, sorry, they max preps confused me there. That being said, big receiver, big target, and the Buffs need all the talent they could get. Now, I think a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, why do you need so many receivers when you have talented guys? I mean, it's a transfer portal era. You'll never, I guess, find yourself stocking up on talent too much because at the end of the day, guys are going to go to the NFL, guys are going to transfer, guys are going to get injured, whatever it is. So you need depth. So Colorado going after a big-bodied receiver. Think Will Shepherd, right? That's who he kind of reminds me of, I guess. I don't love a good player comp because then that's my little side tangent of the day. Don't love player comps because as soon as you say someone is like someone, people are like, oh, so you think he's going to be that guy? Like when people get compared to Patrick Mahomes, it's like, oh, so you think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes? And it's like, no, he has a similar playing style. So I don't love player comps, but a big body receiver, very physical. It seems like he doesn't have an issue outrunning people. Granted, that could be different at the high school level or the college level, but he's a big receiver who I think when you get the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays. So the Buffs are going to have some work to do. They're supposed to host him for a visit. I think I saw something that he shut down his recruitment. I don't know how that impacts the visit, but if you're Colorado, you want to make sure that you bring in all the playmakers you can for Julian Lewis. So that way, when it's his turn to take over, you have all the playmakers in position and ready to go. So that's all you need to know on your Colorado Buffaloes today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of Locked on Buffs.